This is happiness, to be everything at once. Be unblinded, be unlearned, be unbridled and unburned.
Hey everyone, and welcome back to a brand new episode of Mood Prep. My name is Dave Nixon, and today we are going to talk about why you shouldn't take compliments to heart. Now that sounds a bit rude because a lot of people love to give compliments, even though there's also a lot of people that don't like to receive them. Hey, which is one of the easiest ways to see a discounting pattern in somebody is when you may give them a compliment and they either deflect the compliment or take the compliment and feel the need to give you one in return as if it's a currency, right? There's a lot of validity and a lot of value and a lot of power to actually taking a compliment. Now, it's really interesting because sometimes compliments, the person giving it isn't necessarily giving you a compliment. Maybe their intent, whether they're aware of it or not, is to get you to like them more. Right? Now, that's not really a compliment then, is it? Which is really interesting. So it's the kind of thing where a lot of the times you might see two people conversing and one person gives another person a compliment. What's their intention? Why are they doing it? And then the other person goes, oh, okay, thanks. Yeah, no, someone else bought it for me, but I really like your such and such, right? There's nothing there that was actually, potentially real and honest. Now, what's really interesting is that there are a lot of criticism that goes the same way, right? I'm going to criticize you so you see that I know something you don't, so you think I'm smart. Like, somebody might have that intention, hey, but we don't know it, we just see the criticism, maybe. And it's kind of interesting, isn't it? The goal, I think, with all of this, and I genuinely do think this and do believe it, is to get to a space where neither criticism nor compliments actually touch you. Like, actually question your value, where often people may get a compliment and it makes their day. Now, this is like meant to be a really nice thing, and there's nicety to it. It may be perceived better than the opposite, but the concern there isn't I don't get enough compliments. The concern may be I wage my worth on other people's opinion of me, right? Because it's not to say that we should just not give a fuck. Like, there's a balance here, and you have to figure that out what's good for you. But if we're constantly driven by compliments and maybe words of affirmation, then maybe we've got a frame or an issue, let's just call it that, around needing words of affirmation to feel good about ourselves. And if that's the case, then it's not that we don't have enough compliments or that we're not around the right people. The difficult pill to swallow there is that you may have a couple of frames in place that are actually conditional worth. It's pointing towards self-esteem that is conditional based upon how you're perceived in other people's eyes. Now, this is meant, just to clarify, I'm not saying don't give compliments. I'm saying be very fucking conscious and aware of your intent when you give a compliment. Are you just trying to look good in the eyes of the other person? Are you genuinely going, hey, I've got a judgment here of your shirt, of what you did, and I think that's really good? Because it's still a judgment. It's what people don't often realize. It's like judgment-free zone. But you can give compliments, right? It's still a fucking judgment. So it's like, oh, this person thinks this of me, and it's negative. It's like, well, that's their fucking opinion. It's also often a projection because they're often going, if I did that, if I look like that, if I said that, then I would think this of me, which I probably already think of me, but I'm going to say it about you. That doesn't mean that is you. That's their experience of you, and they're projecting it at you as if it's because it's what they value. And that's a powerful thing to really look at, hey, because it doesn't mean that no compliments are beneficial, and it doesn't mean that all criticism is thrown out the window. It's a matter of looking at it and going, okay, well, is this information useful for me? Is it something that I didn't know before, and maybe there's a pattern within my behaviors or in my clothing or whatever it may be, and is it something that I could probably change or improve or something along those lines? There's validity to doing that. But there's also a lot of validity to just knowing your damn fucking self-worth is what it is. And I had this conversation at the end of the Mood Prep weekend just gone about self-esteem. So esteem is just another word for value. But self-esteem presupposes that there can be a space where there is a lack of esteem. There is no such thing as self-esteem, right? Now, I get it. I'm fully aware of it. But at the core of it, yourself, you, the essence of you, is abso-fucking-lutely priceless. There is no worth on yourself, apart from what you allow and the conditions you put on it. Therefore, there is no value of self. Because if we value it, it must say that we all must also have the option to devalue it. And to devalue self is to devalue essence and the universe at its absolute finest. So to lack self-esteem, which is a decision we've made, and maybe it's because of, our lack of education of self-worth and self-esteeming at a young age, right? But the self is invaluable. So therefore, you remove the esteem. But that's a lot of work to understand beingness, understand presencing, to understand the entirety of the self and the essence that you may bring to the universe, right? And people can get lost in this a little bit because they get caught up as if they are their structures, they are their personality types. We're not any of that. We are much more, but also much less than all of that. Right? Because this goes back on to why I talk about unbecoming who you're not. You're not your personality. You're not your behaviors. You're not your fucking thoughts. You have to unbecome all that horse shit and stop identifying as it and stop telling you the story about you being this thing that once happened. No, you are here now as a fucking being in all your presence, and you have all the power and options there, all your autonomy. But the question is, do I, or you in this case, but do I choose to give that away, and to whom and for what reason? So when somebody comes up to me and gives me a compliment or criticizes me, it's more often than not, it's not about me. It's their perception, it's their value, and maybe pointing at something for them. Now, I have an option just to acknowledge it and move on. I have an option to acknowledge it and reference it and go, okay, well, hang on a second, has this been a pattern for me? Or I've also got an option to go, hey, look, is everything okay with you? There's options there, but more often than not, the criticism and the compliment are the same fucking thing, right? It's like it's like putting up a post on Instagram to try and get attention, or never putting a post on Instagram because you don't want attention. Both decisions are based out of attention. One's for it, one's against it, but the intention of the decision is based on attention. It's the same thing. Right? If I take a compliment, but I say, hey, don't you criticize me, I'm saying, only judge me if it's seen as positive in my own eyes based on my values. And that we can't live in that world. We can't be responsible and tell other people how to think or what to... And that's not what I'm doing here. I'm offering you a train of thought that may free you from the structures and thoughts and opinions of other people. Unless, that's the space you want to be in. Or it may be a space you're not ready to leave yet. Or maybe you disagree with me, and that's okay as well. That's completely okay with me. I have a frame that says that's okay with me. So this is the beauty of all this work. It's forever fucking unfolding. It's developmental. And it's going further than simply just looking at the personality traits that you're not. It goes further than what you see in the mirror. It goes far further, because you do. And on that note, team, I'm done. Thank you very much for tuning in, but you don't have to take my thanking. Maybe that's just my judgment. Who knows? But thank you very much for tuning in. It does mean a lot to me. And if you found this podcast beneficial and you think you know someone else who may also find it beneficial, it would mean the world to me if you would share the love and pass it on to them. Otherwise, that's going to be enough for me today. Until tomorrow, peace and pizza. Kick today in the dick. Slay the dragon. I'll see you guys soon.
To be everything at once, be unblinded, be unlearned, be unbridled and unburned.